Hello, and thanks for joining me. Today we'll be reviewing this lovely cardboard box, constructed with premium cardboard and made in the USA. Hey everybody, welcome to the Airbrush Dungeon. Yeah, today we're going to be taking a look at the Paasche Raptor airbrush. Now this brush is said to be the same brush as the Talon, but a smaller cup. So let's take a look inside. Okay, inside the box we have some paperwork. And we have the airbrush. And this is the Paasche Raptor. I like it. I think it's sleek looking. And like I said, besides the cup size, it's supposed to be the same brush as the Talon. I haven't used the Talon. I don't know. Take a look at the paperwork. Okay, we have appear to have a tech sheet on the Raptor. Loaded diagram and parts list, which is excellent. Okay, in the book, we appear to have, okay, here's a warranty. And we appear to have pretty much the standard fare, your airbrush tips and tricks, your how to clean it, maintenance, your dagger strokes and your fades and shading and normal stuff. Nothing specific about the airbrush. On the front, we see some older brushes. The Paasche DL is a brush that I've had in the past. I gave it away, and then I got another one in a bundle with a collectible brush that I bought. And I guess now that I'm collecting brushes, I'll keep this one around. So now with this brush, we have we have a cap. I find it to be a very sleek brush. I like the look. I like the feel. Okay, and what else do we have here? We have an adapter for the non-standard thread size of the Paasche. They have their own proprietary size, and this adapter will bring it up to where we use the same connections as like Iwata or H&S Krios. So that's excellent. Now they do supply a hose that has that small hookup. But so the hose doesn't go to waste, I'll probably get an adapter for that. Put a quick release on it. Now, it comes with 4 different sets of needles and nozzles. So this is the nozzle and air cup for the number 3. And this is for the number 2. And this is the number 0. There's no air cap included with this. I believe it uses the same air cap as the number 1, which is in the brush now, I believe. According to the spec sheet, the nozzle sizes are as follows. The size 0 is a 0.2 millimeter. Size 1 is a 0.25 millimeter. Size 2 is a 0.38, And size 3 is the big boy at a 0.66. So if you need to do your wide range stuff, your backgrounds and washes. What I find particularly great about how Paasche does their needle setups is the air caps, the nozzles, and the needles are all marked so that you can't mix them up. Well, you can, I guess you could mix them up, but not if you're paying attention. So that's fantastic. You don't have to try to measure the holes against each other and try to figure out which one is finer and coarser. It's all numbered. So let's tear it apart. Okay, so we start with the handle. The handle seems to be lightweight. It's probably aluminum. Paasche has been known to use plastic in the past, but yeah, this feels like aluminum. And now we loosen the needle chucking nut, and out comes the needle. Now, one of the features I like about these needles is that there's a little step down. That way, the overall length of the needle is the same size, no matter what the tip size. So the chucking mechanism works exactly the same way. So now we unscrew the needle chucking guide, which is also your adjustment for your needle, your trigger tension. That's a long-winded screw. So put that aside. Okay, looking at the trigger, we see that it doesn't have a T or a little piston at the bottom, anything like that. It just has a little straight pin with a dimple in the bottom of it, which rides on like the rounded top of the valve stem. So that's pretty unique. On the front, we have the needle cap, a needle guard or a crown cap there to protect the needle. And then we have the air cap, which directs the air around the needle. Now, different companies refer to it differently. I know Badger calls theirs a regulator cap. I believe Paasche is just air cap. And then, of course, the nozzle. I know I did see a wrench here somewhere, but I'm not going to bother taking that out. Okay, let's put it back together. Air cap. There's a nice little rubber seal in there. It's good. Protect that needle, crown cap. A lot of times people will work without that, but leave it on when you're handling it. Trigger in, the trigger goes in so easy with that design. And the needle chucking guide, which Paasche calls their rocker assembly. Now this is pretty much what you'll see inside any airbrush. There are a few that step outside the box like Harder and Steenbeck, but on the most part, this is what this part looks like inside of most airbrushes. And this, along with the spring and the housing and the chucking nut, are the interface between the trigger and the needle. So this design has changed very little over the years. Okay. Now we put the spring in, put the housing on. Now this has a long way to go, but when you get down toward the end, you don't have to tighten it all the way up. Depends on how stiff you want your trigger. This housing is the adjustment for trigger tension. Next, we put the chucking nut in place, but don't tighten it because you need to push the needle through first. Just put it on there. Now, when you push your needle through, it's good to put your trigger down. It's one less thing for it to potentially hit. And there's a needle bearing up there or packing through, whatever you want to call it. Go easy through there so you don't push it all of a sudden and hit the tip and mess up the nozzle. So you ease it until you feel it hit the nozzle, and then you hold it firmly but not much pressure, and then tighten it up. Handle. You have your limiter screw, which I barely use. But it's a good feature to have. I also like to turn the slot in my handle sideways so it's on the top and bottom. That way the mechanism doesn't rub against my hand in the process. I do like the slot. It's nice and big, and you can get to the trigger adjustment without removing the handle, which a lot of brushes you can't do. So that's also a good feature. So put the cap on, and there she is. Now let's take it to the easel and squirt some paint. Okay, so the Paasche Raptor, we're at the easel, and we have the brush in the cup. We have Illustration Black from Createx, and we're using a 0.2 millimeter needle, which is the size 0 in the Paasche line. I have the pressure at the regulator set at about halfway between 20 and 25 psi, and I have a MAC valve on the line, and let's see what we can do. Start off with some little dots, and they seem to be pretty good. Little line. Doing some decent thin lines. Little bit of spottiness, a little bit of extra scraggle hanging off the sides of the lines. But I'm sure once I dial in that air pressure and paint viscosity and hit that sweet spot, it's going to be nice. So I tried messing with the MAC valve when it was worse. So I'm going to turn it up to 30 psi and see what I get out of that. Okay. This one seems a lot smoother. I'm sure I need to reduce this. So let me throw a few drops of 4011 in here and go from there. Something I noticed about this brush that should be called to everybody's attention. The needle, in comparison to, let me see. Hold on. Here's an Iwata comparison. The needle sticks out about twice as long. And when you're getting close to the surface and working, this needle wants to get hit. It wants to hit the surface. You have to really be vigilant about holding back and not bending your needle. But it is a lot easier for picking off tip dry. So, the good with the bad. And it really wants to throw some paint. I mean, really. A lot of brushes, it's hard to keep the paint flowing. The challenge with this brush is holding the paint back. So you have to be so subtle on that trigger, or you're over spraying. You're putting out too much paint, especially like when you're doing detail. But as a result, the responsiveness is incredible. You barely just move your finger. You're not even really moving your finger. You just tense up your finger a little bit and you get paint. So, yeah, that's amazing. You just have to get that muscle memory down, and I think it'll be phenomenal. It's like an unwieldy beast that in the right hands is a detail monster. Even with the 0.2 nozzle and needle setup, this thing cannot wait to put out paint. It's just instantaneous. So I over reduced it, and the flow is so much cleaner now. The lines are so much better. Like I said, this thing is going to be incredible. A little stencil up here. Okay, the atomization is on point for sure. Yeah, you really deliver paint where you want it, when you want it, and that's the most important thing. So I can see getting photorealism out of this if that's your thing. It's not really my thing. I'm more into the stylized fantasy art. Now, these stencils, like I've said before, I cut these myself on a plotter from Mylar, and they work fantastic. You can pretty much lay out any design you think would be good for what you do. And if anybody would like a tutorial on that, let me know and I'll do one. So I've taken the time and I played with the brush, and I have no doubts that I'm going to have a lot of fun getting acquainted with it. And it's going to turn out to be pretty good. Now, would I recommend this brush to a new airbrusher? Absolutely not. This is not your first airbrush. But in a competent hand, this could be a great brush. It really wants to throw paint, so you have to you have to keep it under control. But yeah, it's gonna take me a lot of time of playing around to get the muscle memory I need to feel confident and uh, and to get what I want out of it. But it'll happen. So, final word on the Paasche Raptor. Good brush, capable brush, potentially an awesome brush, not for the beginner. That being said, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. All right, bye.